Today we're looking at the Canon L series 70-200 f4, and this is the image stabilized version Mark 1. We're going to compare it to the original non-stabilized version as well as the new Mark 2 version, and we're just going to find out exactly what's going on. Is it still worth buying here in 2019? We're going to compare it, we're going to break it down and find out if it's still a good buy for you. Let's go! So here it is, the legend, the myth, part of the Holy Trinity, the 70-200. So let's just start off with a couple stats on this thing if you're just getting started looking. This is just some general things that you'd find maybe on the website before we dive in deep. So we're going to check out the build of this thing first, but if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all my new lens reviews, news, and of course giveaways and whatnot. So looking at the size of this thing, it's a pretty good size for what it is, measuring about 7.5 inches long and about 3 inches wide, and weighing only 759 grams, which is under 2 pounds. Both the focus and the zoom rings are nice and grippy and turn smoothly and easily. I will admit though that this is not my favorite lens design. It looks awkward and the color choices are weird. As well, it feels almost unproportionate to me. I don't like where the zoom ring is, it just feels somewhat unnatural. And although usually producing great results, the 70-200, regardless of brand, has always kind of seemed like a weird lens to me. Maybe it's something to do with the usually short throw on the zoom ring. One great feature of this lens is its internal focusing, meaning that when you do zoom in, it doesn't extend the size of the lens. You'll also see a handy focusing distance indicator. But this lens is definitely not short on features, having a focus range switch, automatic and manual focus, stabilization, and a stabilization mode switch. The controls are always right at your fingertips. And being image stabilized, this lens offers up to 4 stops of shake correction. It has a nice solid metal mount, and Canon's done right by weather sealing, opting to include a little rubber gasket. Having just a few pet peeves as far as design goes, this thing is very well made and I give it 4 stars for build. So as far as value is concerned for this lens, there is a newer version, so you're going to see the price of this one drop a little bit, but for around $1,000, I think the value is pretty good. If you don't feel like spending the extra money for the Canon name, of course there are third-party alternatives that in some cases can even be a little bit faster for the same price. All in all, for value in this lens, I give it 4 stars, and we're about to see exactly why. It probably won't shock you that this lens performs amazingly. The autofocus is phenomenal, it's incredibly fast and nearly silent, making this a great lens for sports, portraits, and pretty much everything you throw at it. The sharpness of this lens is very impressive, even wide open and at any focal range, even into the corners. And the 8 aperture blades produce some incredible bokeh, even though it's just an f4. But you be the judge. Here are a few pictures that I took with this lens. When it comes to performance, basically everything about this lens is above average. I give it 4.5 solid stars for performance. If you're considering this lens, you definitely want to know the differences between the 3 versions of it. So here's a quick breakdown of some of the features that you can expect to find in each of them. So the first of the 3, the non-IS version, actually came out in 1999. The Mark I followed it up in 2006, and the Mark II was just announced last year in 2018. As far as price goes, there is a big difference, but you can decide based on your needs. If you don't need image stabilization, the non-IS version has incredible value, around $550. In terms of sharpness, it absolutely did increase over the years, but by no means is the IS a slouch. Unless you're pixel peeping, it's going to be very hard to determine the difference. Comparing the image stabilization of Mark I and II, there's a one-stop difference in vibration reduction, and the Mark II also has a 3rd stabilization setting, mainly for video. As far as the weather sealing is concerned, I'm sorry to say the non-IS is not equipped with a rubber gasket, where the Mark I and II are both properly weather sealed. Also to note, the Mark II does have slightly bigger filter threads, as well as a little bit closer minimum focus distance. So which one has the best value? Do you need the image stabilization? Is the Mark II worth $300 more than the Mark I? That's for you to decide. As promised, here are my pros and cons for this lens. If you're considering the f4, you've probably also looked at the 2.8, and just keep in mind that 2.8 is basically double the price and the weight. All in all, I find this lens to be a great performer, and I give it a solid 4 stars. I also like to rate things on a scale from never think about again to consider to definitely buy. But definitely do your research on this one, check out some third parties and find out what's best for you. In this case, I give it a consider to definitely buy. It's a great lens. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it helped you out, and if it did, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're thinking about buying one of these lenses, there are links in the description below as well that'll take you to where you need to go. Like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time, guys.